Welcome to this small town, and if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I'm very bullish about having people move to small town. I think it's the ultimate solution and it provides for a better life. And if I could go back in time, I would have forced myself to move to a rural environment a little earlier on in my adult life. But it is done, and now here we are. Now, whether you actually live in a small town right now, but you do not yet own a house, or you're planning to move to a small town and you're planning to buy a house, I am going to use this video to tell you to watch out for a massive trap. This is a trap I feel not enough people are talking about, and it's a big one. This is a problem that we need to start talking about now. You know the old Chinese proverb of the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is now? That applies to small towns as it relates to their economy. Houses are going to be a tricky play in the next few years, and that all has to do with baby boomers. The oldest boomers were born in 1945. So boomers born between 1945 and 1950 now are getting into that final chapter of their lives. The average life expectancy in North America hovers around the 80 mark, depending on if you're looking at United States statistics or Canadian ones, but it's generally in the same vicinity. The oldest boomers are pretty much going to start popping off. It is, nonetheless, a fact of life. Now, what's different about boomers falling off in small towns versus the cities is when they start to release their homes, some of these homes will be inherited by their families, sure, but you have to take into account some boomers are no longer in contact with their families. Some of these families that will inherit the homes will have no actual use for them. They've already got their own thing going on, so they don't need that second home, that second burden, right? All this to say, we are driving towards a massive housing market shift in the coming years. It's going to be massive. So think about it this way. In the next 5 to 15 years, we are going to see a lot of boomers falling off. And what's different with them as opposed to younger generations is they had a better economy to work with at the time that they bought their homes. So a lot of these homes that have been purchased many, many years ago were purchased back when there were more jobs. Now, if you take my town, for example, there are very few good paying jobs. And those jobs that do pay well are in the health sector, or it's working for the municipal government. So those are two must-haves for any functional community to have, right? But what about private industry? And that's where it's all at. These boomers, back when they bought their homes on average were worth 3 times their annual salary. So let's say a boomer bought a house for, I don't know, $30,000 back in 1970. Back in 1970, the average boomer was earning somewhere between $10,000 to $12,000 a year. So think about it. If your house is at or slightly under 3 times your annual income, you're doing really well. You look at today's generation, I'm going to use my own town as an example. So the closest high-paying jobs in my town would be the quarries. Now, the quarries, at their best, and I looked this up, at their best tend to pay somewhere between $21 an hour going up to almost $25 an hour. That's barely $50,000 a year. Now, if a boomer back in the 70s was able to support a stay-at-home wife who took care of his 2 children on his $10,000 salary, which was 1/3 of his house price, how is today's worker supposed to let his wife stay at home so she could raise those 2 kids when he's earning at or under $50,000 a year and the average home price in this region is $500,000? That's 10x his annual salary. How's he supposed to make it? Also, the tax burden has grown considerably since the boomers were of working, childbearing ages. It's all changed now. Maybe you might want to consider holding off for a few years. Ask yourself, what do you really want in home ownership? You really have to ask yourself that if you're going into a small town. A house that is selling for, let's say, $400,000 might plummet to half that in 10 to 15 years. I know it sounds crazy that real estate could actually go down. If you're thinking of buying a home in a small town, you need to have a plan in place. If you're looking at a home, let's say right now, in a rural region that is going for 500 grand, my God, would I ever advise you to just hold off, be patient, especially when you already see right now, home prices are starting to slide off a bit. It's not what it used to be, and it's already tapering off. So match that with the immigration slowdown, the market's just going to keep seizing up and seizing up and seizing up. And we're not getting the foreign investment we need here. No one is starting up any new businesses of grand scale like the ones that the boomers saw. So if you can hold on for a little while longer, if you can get over the social pressure of having to be a homeowner, wait it out. So many things can happen, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with parking your money in some safe investments in the meantime so that it can grow steadily, and then you'll have an even bigger down payment for something better. Or you'll have your down payment and you'll also have some cash reserves in the event that something goes wrong with your house. And in the countryside, I could tell you, it will. I mean, in the city, you have certain variables that don't apply to homes there that apply here, right? So I'm thinking of a house, say, in Toronto versus a house where I live. In Toronto, you have houses that are surrounded by very tall buildings, so they do not get slammed with nature's elements in the same way that they do in the countryside. If I look at my home, for instance, we're going to need a new roof probably in the next 2 to 3 years. We are not seeing any damage inside the house right now, but just looking at it from the outside, you can see the roof is getting tired. And that is another thing you definitely need to account for. So if you're thinking of making that move, if you're thinking of buying a house in the countryside, take that into account. My best advice to you, though, would be just do your research. Try and use ChatGPT to do a prospectus on the town that you are planning to move to. The prompt for that would be, ChatGPT, can you analyze this town and tell me what the future prospects are for this town? Enter the town's name, real estate market. And what ChatGPT is going to do, it's going to pull up the seniors population in the town that you are eyeing. It will also countermeasure that against the amount of available industries in the area. Property values will drop in tandem with the amount of available inventory versus the amount of gainful employment. So do look for that, because it will paint a picture of how much you can expect to pay for a house versus how much you can expect to earn. Because let's say you have a $400,000 house, like I mentioned earlier, that drops to 200 grand. 200 grand is still way too expensive if you have no way to cover your mortgage as well as cover the inevitable wear and tear that will take place. I hope this video has helped put things into perspective. We also happen to have a free online community for small town entrepreneurs. So if that's the reason you're moving to a small town, go into the description of this video. There's a link to it. Join it. It's free. We'll be happy to have you in there, and we can discuss this topic further there. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.